Good day everyone! In today's topic, we will discuss the normative theories of business ethics, including the stockholders, stakeholders, and social contract theory, prescribing an ethical principle and practical guidelines that help business uphold integrity, responsibility, and accountability in their operations. The following are the members of the group: Angulo John Lorraine, Salino Janine, De La Torre Charis, Fernandez Keisha Ann, Ibardolaza Nicole, Logroño Jan Andy, and me, Nahera Sendarina, Pascual Angelica, San Diego Bernadette, and Vicente Jason. At its core, the stockholder theory asserts that a company's primary goal is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. This means the company's management team is committed to advancing the business plan and increasing the value of the business for the benefits of its shareholders. Shareholders have various rights, including the ability to audit the company records, to ensure the transparency and accountability in how it manages its finances. Second is to sue the company for breaches of law. If the company officers violate laws or act in a way that harms the company or its shareholders, stockholders have the right to take legal action against them. 3 is to vote on major corporate matters. Stockholders have the right to vote on important decisions that affect the company, such as mergers, acquisitions, and changes to the company's bylaws. 4 is to receive dividends. Stockholders have the right to receive this dividend based on the number of shares they own. When the company makes a profit, it may distribute a portion of that profits to its shareholders as dividends. 5 is to attend the company's annual meetings. Stockholders can attend annual meetings of the company to learn about its performance, ask questions, and vote on important matters. Lastly is to receive a proportionate share in case of liquidation. If the company is liquidated in its assets are distributed, stockholders have the right to receive a portion of the remaining assets based on their ownership stake in the company. In essence, stockholder theory prioritizes the interests of shareholders above all else.
So we have here the two types of stockholders, and these are the common and preferred stockholders. So to differentiate them more, I will divide it into 3 parts, which are the voting rights, the dividends, and the claim on assets. So the voting rights, si common stockholders, meron siyang voting rights to appoint the executives or the board of directions. While si preferred stockholders naman, wala silang rights para bumoto. So they don't get to influence the company's decision. So the dividends naman, sa common stockholders, they are not guaranteed dividends, which are a portion of a company's profits distributed to shareholders. While si preferred stockholders naman, they have priority over common stockholders when it comes to dividends. They receive a fixed dividend or a set amount per share before any dividends are paid to common stockholders. However, the dividend amount is usually fixed and doesn't grow with the company's profits. Thus, dun naman sa common stockholders, they only receive dividends if the company's board declares them and there are not enough profits available after obligations are met. And lastly is the claim on assets. Sa claim on assets, sa common naman, they have the lowest claim on a company's asset in the event of bankruptcy or liquidations. While sa preferred stockholders naman, they have a higher claim on assets than common stockholders but lower than bondholders. They get paid after creditors but prefer common stockholders during liquidation. Some preferred stock may have additional features like the ability to convert to common stock if the company performs well.
Stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory advocates that businesses should consider and serve the interests of all parties impacted by their operations beyond just shareholders. This includes employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and more. The theory emphasizes a holistic approach to organizational management, aiming to balance diverse stakeholder interests to achieve sustainable success. By prioritizing stakeholder needs, companies can build trust, enhance reputation, and drive long probability. Ethical responsibility is central, promoting socially responsible business practices. This theory encourages organizations to cultivate enduring relationships, fostering resilience and success amid challenges. The history of stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory, introduced by R. Edward Freeman, advocates for businesses to consider the interests of all impacted parties beyond just shareholders, aiming to foster sustainable and ethical practices through equal stakeholder consideration and decision making. This theory emerged as a response to the limitations of shareholder-centric approaches, emphasizing the importance of balancing diverse stakeholder interests to create long-term value while prioritizing the well-being of employees, communities, and the environment. Embracing stakeholder theory encourages companies to prioritize corporate social responsibility or CSR initiatives, promoting ethical and sustainable business practices that enhance stakeholder relationships and contribute to long-term success and reputation.
So for this slide, we will talk about the how the stakeholder theory works. So an example of this is, imagine there is an automobile company that recently gone public. So ang unang nilang iisipin is paano tumaas yung kanilang stock. Ito ay ang paghahanap ng mga shareholders. Pero ayon sa stakeholder theory, hindi lamang sa paghahanap ng mag-i-invest sa company nila yung hahanapin nila. So here we have 5 examples na maaari din nilang pagtuunan ng pansin para mas lumago pa yung business nila. Una is the employee. Employees are major stakeholders in any company. They are expected to have a fair pay and safe working conditions. If a company fails to meet these needs and treat employees poorly, it can lead to employees leaving and a bad reputation for the company. This harms the company's ability to succeed and earn more money in the future. So the next one is the manufacturers or suppliers. Under stakeholder theory, manufacturers, suppliers, and other vendors that the auto company works with are considered stakeholders. It's important to consider the well-being of all people involved, like the employees of these suppliers. For example, if a supplier treats their employees poorly, then stakeholder theory would hold that you should find a different supplier that is more aligned with your business ethics. So the next one is customers. If everyone is affected by a business is considered a stakeholder, then the car company's customers are very important stakeholders. According to stakeholder theory, the company's main goal should be making vehicles that safely and reliably take customers from one place to another comfortably and efficiently. The next one is customers, neighbors, and community members. Since automobile produce emissions that can impact the environment, stakeholder theory says that anyone who lives in proximity to one of these vehicles may be affected and should be viewed as a stakeholder. With this stakeholders in mind, the company may adopt more fuel-efficient technology and cut down harmful carbon emissions. Lastly, is the governmental bodies. Car makers must also consider any city, county, or state-mandated requirements such as emission standards or safety features. The governmental agency that enforce these standards are set of stakeholders for the auto company. That's all.
Stakeholder theory basically says that companies should care about more than just making money for their shareholders. They should also think about how their decisions affect everyone involved in the business, like employees, customers, suppliers, and the community. Now, the good part about this is that when the companies treat their employees well and make them feel valued, they tend to work harder and do better quality work. That means happier customers who keep coming back, and when the companies grow and does well, shareholders get happy too because they see better returns on their investments. But there are challenges too. It's not always easy to make everyone happy. Different groups of stakeholders might want different things, and sometimes one group might get the short end of the stick. Plus, some stakeholders have more power and influence than the others, which can cause tensions and disagreements. So, while stakeholder theory sounds great in theory, making it work in practice can be a bit tricky because you've got to balance the needs and interests of all these different groups.
Hi, I'm Cherise Ivy B. De La Torre, and I will be discussing the social contract theory. So, what is the definition of the social contract theory? Social contract theory is a business ethics where the business have a ethical duty to improve social welfare, but also to achieve by meeting consumer and employee needs while adhering the justice to the principle of the business. So this theory is rooted in the concept of social contract, wherein an unspoken pact between society and the business entity. So this society acknowledge the business existence, provide its service, societal interests in a specific ways. Thus, this theory outlines the social responsibilities of the businesses, asserting that their ethical obligations extended beyond profit-making, but also to include a broader commitment to a societal well-being. It emphasizes that business as societal entities should operate in a manner that benefits all stakeholders, including employees, consumers, and the broader community.
An example of the social contract theory in action is a pharmaceutical company, ensuring the safety and efficacy of its medication. By conducting thorough research, adhering to regulatory standards, and providing accurate information to consumers and healthcare professionals. The company fulfilled its obligation to society by prioritizing their well-being of the patient and the broader community. In return, society grants the company the privilege of operating within its boundaries and accessing its resources.
Challenges of social contract theories. So there are some challenges of social contract theories. One of them is the pre-riders. Pre-riders are individual or entitled that benefits from the action or contribution of others without a comparable contribution themselves. They pose a challenge in a way that they exploit the effort of ethical businesses without adhering the similar ethical standards from themselves. So for example, let's say na you have a group of friends na nag-decide kayo na magkaroon ng small gathering or like just go on a picnic, and then you decided that everyone will have to pay an equal amount of budget, but one of them just showed up, ate, and then celebrated with a group, and then have fun, and then just leave without paying the same contribution. So those kind of friends is what we call the pre-rider friend, na they are the one who take benefits from the gathering and then leave without putting or giving the fair share or the fair contribution. So when it comes naman to business industry, same lang din naman sila, where companies are expected to follow a certain ethical standard or regulation. So dito naman, pumapasok naman yung pre-riding na tinatawag when the companies fail to comply while still getting benefits sa overall reputation or sa market advantage which is created by those people who still follow those regulation or those rules. So as a result, this may lead naman to ruining trust or cooperation when it comes to business or when it comes to business environment, na nagiging dahilan din ng pagkakaroon ng damage sa company. And nagiging dahilan din naman nito is nagkakaroon din ng legal issue which is sa loob din ng company. So next, we have a lack of universal agreement. So dahil nga ang bawat isa sa atin ay may kanya-kanyang expectation, belief, or opinion sa society, nagkakaroon tayo ng hindi pagkakanawaan. So ganun din when it comes to business. If a stakeholder had a disagreement in terms of business, doon nag-i-start yung pagre-raise ng conflict nila. So next, and the last one is the potential conflict with the fiduciary duty. So fiduciary duty is the responsibility of prioritizing someone's interest or professional interest rather than yourself. So the challenges that society contract face is kapag isang tao ay nagkakaroon ng dilema sa kanyang professionalism at kanyang self-interest for others na nawawala ang healthy contract nila sa society.
Good day everyone. My name is Janandi B. Logroño, and I will discuss the subtopic of Braden Batch and Robbins' conceptual model of corporate moral development. In this first page, in today's generation, ethics are crucial in terms of the business world. At dahil na rin sa patuloy na pag-usbong ng teknolohiya, kasabay naman nito ang paglago ng mga negosyo at ang mga kasangkot nito. Maraming negosyo ang nagde-develop ng mga ethical standards and practices when it comes to behavior and attitude, na ang mga aksyon na ito ay mayroon at makaka-apekto sa loob ng kumpanya. And because of ethical activities, na-adapt nito o na-adapt ito ng kumpanya at mga taong involved sa loob ng kumpanya. Dahil ang ganitong action at aktibidad ay nakakatulong upang mas umunlad at mapabuti ang kumpanya pagdating sa behavior and attitude. So the ethical standards and practices that a company has ay maaaring maging positibo at lumikha ng isang mas mahusay na epekto sa loob ng kumpanya. And because ito ang magbibigay ng govern sa mga aksyon at pag-uugali ng mga tao sa loob ng kumpanya. In addition, when a company has a good environment, na-adapt ng mga tao ang mga practices na mayroon sa loob ng kumpanya at mai-a-apply nila ito sa kanilang sarili upang maging maganda ang pagtrabaho at pagkilos nila sa kumpanya. Dahil ay nakakapagbigay ng positibong performance pagdating sa job satisfaction, employee performance, open communication, decision making, at taking responsibility, and so on that involve in these matters. Moreover, this will reflect on the company because of the culture na mayroon ng kumpanya at dahil na rin sa set of official significant rules and regulations that are indicated or mayroon sa loob ng kumpanya at magkokontrol at mapapanghawakan ito ng kumpanya at magiging maayos ang mga takbo sa trabaho at ng mga empleyado dahil may safe space at nakakapagpatibay ito ng relationship at pati na rin sa lahat ng mga stakeholders na involved sa kumpanya. Like I said earlier, the ethical standards and practices that a company has will help it to develop and grow the activities involved within the company. Lalo na pagdating sa behavior and attitude, dahil ito ay isang importanteng katangian na mayroon ng kumpanya at ang kasangkot nito ay ang mga taong empleyado at kumpanya na rin. In the ethical rules and regulations indicated by the company, ito ay ang magdidikta sa mga action at pag-uugali ng mga empleyado pati na rin ng kumpanya. Dahil ito ang nagpapakita ng katangian at pagpanggap pagdating sa workplace. If the company use ethical practices, ay makakatulong ito upang may apply ng mga tao at ng kumpanya ang mga aktibidad na kasangkot sa loob ng kumpanya at para na rin sa susunod na hinaharap nito upang magpatuloy ang maayos at mabuting gawain. Sa pagpapakita ng mga ethical practices, ito ay sumasalamin sa kung ano ang antas ng moral na pumapasok ang behavior and attitude or mga activities and performances sa loob ng kumpanya. At ang dalawang may akda ng conceptual models na ito ay nagbanggit ng 5 stages na tumutukoy sa ethical standards and practices. In this last part, tinutukoy nito kung ano ang kultura na mayroon sa loob ng kumpanya or organisasyon. Dahil maaaring sinasabi nito na ang mga behavior and attitude ng isang empleyado ay makakatulong para sa kanilang workplace. Maaaring pwede sila rito magbanggit ng mga tradisyon at values na mayroon sa kanilang sarili o mga tradisyon at values sa loob ng kumpanya na pwedeng gamitin sa kanilang trabaho at makakabuti ito upang makita kung ano ang nararapat at hindi nararapat na gawin sa loob ng kumpanya.
The 5 stages of Robbins' conceptual model. Number 1, a moral organization. The lowest level of organization development. At this level, the only concern the organization has for profit and it will break any ethical, moral rules in the pursuit of that profit. Number 2, legalistic organization. The lowest level of sustainable moral development for organization occurs in legalistic organization. Organization at this stage understand the rules and adhere to existing legal and regulatory frameworks. Number 3, responsive organization. The level of organizational morality. These organizations are highly focused on profit. There's an increasing awareness of morality and desire to do the right thing where is possible. Number 4, emerging ethnical organization. At this stage, organizations nearly balance their concern for morality and profit. These organizations increasingly and proactively consider morality and ethics in their strategic and operational decisions. And lastly, number 5, ethnical organization. At this stage, organizations concerned for ethics is perfectly balanced with their concern for profits. Decisions about organization, direction, and operation are all made with concern for their ethical impact and the leadership demonstrate and the role model high levels of morality.